We have a problem, Batman. Gotham needs you again.
When life shatters you, there is no clean slate, no easy reset. What's broken stays broken, and the pieces don't fit together the same way again. To rebuild after such destruction, you must start by accepting that the person you once were is gone, buried in the ruins. There's no going back, no returning to the comfort of innocence or peace. What's left are fragments, sharp and scattered. And if you're to rise again, it must be with something harder, something darker, born from the wreckage. This is not rebuilding. This is recreation. Start with the pieces that remain, the parts of yourself that survived the chaos. These fragments, though jagged and twisted, hold the raw essence of who you are. To rebuild from here is not to soften those edges, but to sharpen them, to let them become weapons against the world that tried to break you. This process is not gentle, it's ruthless. It requires letting go of everything that kept you weak, casting off the weight of who you were, and accepting the cold reality of who you must become. Only by embracing that darkness can you begin to piece yourself back together. Pain is now your foundation. It's the bedrock upon which your new self must stand. The world speaks of healing, of moving on, but those are luxuries reserved for those untouched by true suffering. Pain is the only constant, and to rebuild is to harness it, to let it drive you, to make it your strength. Use it as fuel, as the fire that keeps you going when everything else crumbles. In this rebirth, pain is not something to escape. It's something to master, something that will make you unbreakable. The world expects a version of you that conforms to its ideas of resilience. But resilience isn't pretty. It's raw survival, forged in silence and solitude. Rebuilding means silencing the voices that tell you to heal in ways that suit them, to emerge in forms they find acceptable. This is your darkness to embrace, your path to carve. To rebuild is to walk alone, unburdened by the expectations of others, unshaken by the need for validation. Let this journey strip away the noise until all that remains is you, cold, focused, and relentless. In the end, rebuilding is not about restoring what was lost. It's about creating something new, something that carries the scars of destruction like armor. You don't have to return to the world softened by what you've endured. You return sharpened, transformed. This is not the rise of a victim. It's the ascent of a force reborn from ashes, a symbol of what cannot be destroyed. Life shattered you, yes, but in doing so, it gave you the raw material to become something greater. Rebuilding isn't about healing. It's about transcending, about standing unbroken in the face of what tried to destroy you. There are no promises of happiness in this rebirth, no guarantees of peace. Rebuilding from ruin is a lonely path, a journey of strength beyond the reach of comfort. The world may look on, expecting redemption, expecting a hero. But let it be known, what rises from this shattering is no hero. It is something incorruptible, everlasting. When defeat comes, let it come as a warning, a brutal whisper that the foundation of your plans was not what you believed it to be. Defeat is not failure, it's revelation. It's the dark messenger that forces you to confront the frailty of your schemes, to acknowledge that what you built was too weak to withstand the storms you face. Accept it. Don't recoil. Don't seek to rationalize the loss. Stand in the ashes of what's fallen and let the sting of that destruction burn away illusions. Only then can you begin to rebuild with eyes unclouded by hope and plans untainted by weakness. Defeat doesn't mean the goal is lost. It's a signal that the path was flawed, that the armor had cracks, that your resolve faltered at the crucial moment. Rebuild those plans, not by patching up what has fallen, but by tearing it all down, by examining every detail of what you thought would carry you forward. There is no room for sentiment here, no space for attachment to ideas that were comforting but useless. This rebuilding is ruthless. It demands that you reshape everything with a single focus, with an iron will that will not entertain the possibility of failure again. The new plan must be more resilient, stripped of the softness that led you astray. Set sail once more, not as you were, but as something harder, something devoid of naivety. The goal remains. It has not faltered, but the journey to reach it must now be relentless, unforgiving. The defeat was necessary, a sacrificial offering that stripped away the weak parts, leaving only what was strong enough to endure. Each step forward now must be calculated, each move sharper, unyielding to anything that would slow you down. You carry the memory of that defeat, not as a burden, but as a weapon, a reminder of what can be lost if you falter, if you fail to adapt. Rebuilding after defeat is not about regaining what was lost, but about transforming into something that cannot be broken in the same way again. Accepting defeat is not surrender. It's recognition of what must be done, a call to rise with a new strategy, with renewed fury. The world expects recovery to be gentle, to be guided by the hope of redemption. But this rebuilding is something darker, something forged in the lessons of ruin. This is about power, about reclaiming control over what tried to tear you down. Defeat is a crucible. Rebuilding after life shatters you is the process of standing in that fire, letting it consume all that held you back, and emerging with something greater than before. Set your sights forward, relentless and unwavering. For those who rise from ruin are bound to no one's expectations, beholden to nothing but the drive to conquer. Let defeat fuel the journey. Let it sharpen every plan, every step. Rebuild not as the person who fell, but as the force that learned from every broken plan, that refined every shattered piece. There are no heroes in this rebirth, only the unstoppable drive toward a goal that no longer tolerates failure. When you rebuild yourself into the person you are meant to be, remember that you're not constructing a single self, but two separate versions. The first is the you that exists in your own mind, the one forged by your own will, by the relentless focus on who you need to become. This is the core, the foundation, hidden from the world, unbound by expectations. It is the self that doesn't ask for permission to grow harder, colder, that does not require validation or comfort. This version is ruthless, driven, accountable to no one but itself. It's the part of you that knows what must be done, that acknowledges the price of your ascent and accepts it without question. But there's another version, one that exists in the minds of others. This version is not controlled by you, but it must be molded by you. This self is a shadow cast by your actions, a construct in the eyes of those who seek to understand, to define you by what they see. To ignore this shadow is to invite weakness. You must decide how it serves you, how it shields the inner self from prying eyes, how it manipulates and maneuvers through the expectations of others. This outer version must be crafted with precision, hardened to be whatever the world demands, while concealing the true strength within. It's a mask, a weapon, one that the world may admire or fear, but never fully grasp. The you within must be untouched by judgment, unmoved by how it is perceived. This is the self that knows the deepest parts of who you are. the one unyielding to the weight of others' opinions. It doesn't bend, doesn't sway, for it exists solely for itself, free from the weaknesses that come with seeking acceptance. The inner self must be fortified, hidden, a fortress that no one can touch. This is the self that drives you, that pulls you through the dark times, that knows every sacrifice you've made and every sacrifice yet to come. Meanwhile, the version that others see must be crafted with intention. It is the face of your power, the projection of strength that tells the world only what it needs to know. This is the self that navigates the chaos of others' expectations, that uses their admiration or fear as tools, manipulating perception to maintain control. It is armor, a barrier, the manifestation of everything the world thinks you are, shaped to serve your ends, without ever exposing what lies beneath. The outer self can be villain or hero. It matters little. It exists to fulfill its purpose and to protect the core that no one but you can ever see. To rebuild after life shatters you is to understand the necessity of these dual selves. One exists for you, the other for the world. One is bound only by your own will, while the other bends to the demands of those who seek to understand, but never will. The strength of the inner self lies in its autonomy, its refusal to be shaped by anything outside itself. The strength of the outer self lies in its adaptability, in its ability to play the part, to shield, to deceive as needed. Both selves must coexist, each serving its purpose. Rebuilding isn't about finding balance between the two. It's about constructing both with ruthless intention. The inner self as the unbreakable core, the outer as the impenetrable facade. Rebuild with precision, so that when the world looks upon you, it sees only what you allow. And when you look within, all that remains is an indomitable force, untouched by anyone's judgment, but your own. That is how one rises from ruin, not as a singular identity, but as a construct so carefully forged that neither weakness nor expectation can ever breach it.